Happy day, all my wildflowers out there. This is Robie Dodson, living the dream in Austin, Texas, as the founder of the Wildflower Property Group. I am glad you're back with me. Today, we are doing week 2 of our Homeowners Challenge. So last week, be sure and go back if you haven't watched it. We started our challenge with what we in Texas think of as kind of the most important system to maintain in our homes, and that is our air conditioning system, HVAC for short. So go back last week, we learned the importance of something as cheap as 2 glugs of bleach, how we as homeowners, property owners, property managers, even tenants can play a vital role in keeping these HVAC systems working great. So today we're gonna do part 2, which is even simpler, changing your air filters. So Daniel's gonna walk us through, I learned something so simple, but have never even heard of before. So I can't wait for you to learn it. He'll even help us understand why changing our air filters is so important. And then after his video, I'll share with you, especially if you're a landlord, a couple of tricks that I use to maintain my properties as it relates to air filters. So enjoy Daniel's words. Okay, so now we're here. We want to talk about filters, kind of continuing our HVAC conversation. Tell me the importance of filters.
So first up, there are a myriad of styles of filters on the market, and they all have different costs. They all have pros and cons. So like everything else, a little proactivity and research into what kind is best for you is a good idea. Typically, we're gonna see this thin kind of what we call disposable filter. I would like to think that I replace these about every 6 weeks. Sometimes I forget.
6 weeks.
But these are very affordable.
Busted.
Some of the larger, thicker filters, cartridge filters, you can get away with replacing about a quarter as often, because they're about 4 times thicker. It's a wash on cost, so really at the end of the day, whatever kind of filter you use, you just need to be more serious about keeping it clean and switching it out. The cost of filters is much lower than the cost of AC maintenance and operation. So having a clean filter is going to lower your energy costs, which is going to save you money over time. Typically, we're going to see air returns where the filter goes either right near a unit, depending on the installation style, or we're going to find them on a wall or at the ceiling. So this one is for the ceiling here. We know that this is a 14 by 30 filter, so what I'm going to do is check this filter. And even if it's not dirty, I'm going to switch it out just to show you the process. So if we open this filter cover, you can see that this filter's been in place for maybe a week or less. Still very, very clean. But we know that Robbie's going to replace this one in 5 weeks or so. When it starts to get dirty. Most of the units are going to have an arrow on them showing you the direction of the airflow. It's very important that you follow that. If you put these filters in backwards, it can hinder the airflow a little bit. So
that arrow means
that like arrow points up because the flow of the air is returning to the unit through here.
I never knew that.
Another problem we run into on inspections with filters is that some people will over-filter their systems. If you have a return air like this at a ceiling, and then you go up into your attic at the air handler and there's another filter at the plenum, you don't want to have a filter in both of those locations because it can actually hinder airflow. It can lower the quality of air coming out, and you're spending extra money to do it. So one filter at the return or as close to it is the best possible scenario. This is the closest return to the units that we just saw up in the attic. So this is where our filter needs to go.
And then what if the filter is at the unit? Is that different?
If the filter is at the unit, typically it's going to be a thicker filter. It's what we call a cartridge filter. They're usually 4 or 5 inches wide. Same exact working principle as these thin filters, just larger, costs about 4 times more. But again, you replace about 4 times it has 4 times more lifespan than the thinner unit, so the cost ends up being the same. But if it is a unit return filter, that is the one and only filter that needs to be in place. We don't want to over-filter air at returns outside of the unit if that is the case.
So I have the cartridge at the filter, at the unit, and we don't with this one.
That's correct.
Because we could tell that it was just choking.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I use an analogy a lot. It would be like running a marathon wearing a mask versus not. You're going to breathe better when you don't have that mask in place.
Okay.
So I think Amber's experience is absolutely what most people experience. If you overfilter, you can hear an audible difference sometimes in the way the air flows through the house. But overfiltering air can lead to premature issues and problems with units, and it's more expensive and it lowers your quality of air.
Okay. Help me understand, how does just changing my filter help my AC?
Well, again, back to the sock analogy or a mask. If I'm running and I'm wearing a mask, it's more difficult to breathe. If I've got a nice clean filter, there's less obstruction of that air because of particulate caught in the filter. So it's going to flow better. It's going to be better productive air, and it's going to be cooler faster.
Okay. But it sounds like you're saying it's cooler for us, and it also, like, the air flows more freely through the system?
100%.
Is that what you're saying?
It's a better scenario for the equipment and for the occupants of the home to have clean filters in place.
Okay. And it's pretty easy.
Yeah, I just go ahead and make sure that when I'm cleaning, I vacuum the vents.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that's a great way
What's
to...
this for?
Yeah.
Vacuum your vents?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Vacuum so that doesn't go into the system.
Oh my goodness.
You know,
I'm the
That's
worst.
taking it to the next level, Amber. But hey, that's...
Hey,
that's-
it's like when I notice that it gets really nasty. You know,
like with an actual vacuum or with
the
like a
vacuum with the
duster?
brush on the end, or either way. You know,
Okay.
but the vacuum works best.
Okay.
I'd say that's a good example of proactivity and a good example of a way to combat higher energy costs. I think
Okay.
Amber's going to have better quality air because she's more proactive than I am and cleans that filter off of the back.
Okay. Are you as shocked as I am to see that there are arrows on the air filter? I'm probably sounding like the biggest goob, but I literally, 50 years on this planet, never knew that there were arrows on the air filter. So thank you, Daniel. Okay, I promised you 2 kind of words of advice, whatever. So I'm gonna give you 3. The first one, order your air filters in bulk. And when I say air filters, it messes with my mouth. So sorry for being so awkward about it. It's a very hard combination of words to say. So buy your air filters in bulk. We keep ours in our front hall closet because I think we have 2 sizes. They're a little bit smaller upstairs than they are downstairs. So buy them in bulk, keep them somewhere. Second, easy peasy, just set yourself an alarm, right? Hey Siri, remind me 6 weeks from today to change my air filters. I'm even gonna try to do a little reminder just through YouTube, Facebook, or whatever. Hey, 6 weeks, time to change your filters. And then my biggest piece of advice, this is especially for those of you who have rental properties, things like that. So I put in the lease for every property that I own and when I get a long-term renter. Obviously don't do this on short-term rental properties, but on long-term rental properties, 6 months or more, they are required to change the air filters themselves. But I put in the lease that at least twice a year, I will come change the air filters. And this works in 2 ways. 1, it just makes sure that it gets done. But 2, it gets me inside the houses so that I can just get eyes on the property. I can see if things are going wrong. I'll usually ask if I can go to the restroom, right? Convenient, just so that I can make sure even that the plumbing looks good. So you can not only guarantee that your air filters will get replaced, but you'll also keep eyes on your property. So that's my little insider secret from me to you. All right, week 2, homeowners challenge. Don't forget to change your air filters every 6 weeks or so. Robie Dodson, please subscribe if you want to see week 3. Coming up next week, we are going to learn everything about the little green pothole things in your yards.